The Chiefs are 60 minutes, 4 quarters, and 1 trophy away from another championship. How do they get it done and put it all together today on Locked On Chiefs?
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome in, everybody, to today's Red Friday episode for the Super Bowl is brought to you by FanDuel. New customers can get just $5 in, and if you win, you can get $200 in bonus bets right now. Download the app or head over to FanDuel.com to get started. We are going to get started with our weekly, annual, whatever you want to call it, preview of the Super Bowl. that was a soft flex. We're going to run it down for you. This is my partner, Chris Clark from KC Chiefs Corner. I'm Ryan Tracy from NFL 33 and RGR Football, as well as Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting. Thank you for checking out our other platforms. Thank you for checking out another Locked On show with your next listen after making us your first. We appreciate you. We are free and available everywhere all the time on every platform you can think of, so go find them all and get subbed. If you want that much more, get on the text line at 816-357-8781. X factors and predictions. No holds barred. We're going to tell you the truth of what we think, and it's going to be fun. That's coming up later in the show. What do they have to do? Which matchups with which players have to be won in order to bring that trophy home and cement this dynasty that everyone is starting to love to hate, which I find very entertaining. That's coming up next. But we start right now. Where it all begins is, how do you take this season-long projection and put it all together? This is going to be the 100th game this team has played in the last 5 seasons. That's monumental. And putting all that experience and all that fatigue, the less time with your family, the more time in recovery, all together to try to get this done is epic, to the point where it's almost unfathomable. So you have the veterans in Mahomes, obviously the older guys in Kelce. Then you have all this youth. You're trying to pull all these groups together. It all comes down to one thing. Do you want to win this and go into the history books more than you're willing to concede any play at any time, at any moment in this ballgame? That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, and I think that it's an obvious answer for anybody on this team. They're going to want to sacrifice everything they can for this game, for this team to win a Super Bowl. And it goes beyond just the guys that are the young guys now. It goes beyond the guys that have been here for the past 2 years or last year that were drafted last year. It's now the rookies even. The rookies want to play for a Super Bowl. They want to win a Super Bowl. Xavier Worthy wants to win a Super Bowl. He wants to be a Super Bowl champion his rookie season, like the 2 previous Chiefs draft classes before him. That is what's crazy about this. And, we don't talk about a guy in Jared Wiley who's not even going to be able to play in this game. But you're sitting here looking at another guy that is another rookie that would have probably been having, some impact on Sunday. Unfortunately, he can't play, obviously. It will be out. But you look at this game, you look at what this is going to mean for this Chiefs team. You talk about playing 100 games in 5 years. I'll up you the fact that they have actually played an extra 6 weeks of football compared to just about any other team in the NFL, because they're playing 2 weeks after every single year. Like, the Eagles are the only other team that are even close when you start looking at how many weeks they've been playing football, how many weeks they've been doing different things. And it goes further because the Chiefs don't even get into their offseason program, their offseason stuff, until after the Super Bowl. And now you're getting ready to play in this game that you've been building the entire season for and building ever since last year. And now it's finally here. And you're sitting here thinking, okay, all this started, all of this comes down to, and I will never forget, if you go back and watch the last drive of the game, last Super Bowl against the 49ers, they're talking about, the announcers are talking about, Jim Nantz is talking about how you have played since July. You've been training since July and August, and actually you've probably been training since May or April for the Super Bowl. Like, that's how long you've been doing this. It's almost a year-long process, and you're finally here. This team is going to be ready. They're going to put it out all out on the field. The bigger question is can the Eagles come out and not be a little bit are the Eagles going to come out and play loose? Because if they don't, that's going to be a problem for them.
And I think it's a problem for their staff as well. for the Chiefs and how formidable they are, any staff looking at them has to be a little bit shriveled. You got to be real. And I think this one in particular has some axes to grind. Doesn't particularly care for the Chiefs fan base, even though he was here for a while. And Sirianni is a guy that I think it's easy to root against if you're not an Eagles fan. Just like everybody seems right now to root against Mahomes if you're not a Chiefs fan. Okay, fine. The question becomes, what do you do to put it together? And it's about understanding yourself first. Self-scouting is key. I'm sure they've done more of it. They seem to have emerged with their plan coming together, and we talked about that a couple of times in the last couple of weeks, folks. The plan to get to this point so that you're healthy, so that you have everything going in the right direction, that has come to fruition, and that makes all the difference in the world. But now you got to go execute. And it's about not just having confidence in your teammates or the new guys or even the rookies that are in here, but understanding that no matter what happens, you're going to have an answer. If they come out and they're jamming you in the line of scrimmage, you can't throw the ball you want to, you can go back and run. If they're going to leave the box light, you're going to have to run. If they feel like, you know what, they can get away with anything and bring another guy down, you have to make them pay for it. All of that is confidence instilling. It just takes continued effort, much like we've seen the last 2 weeks, which I think has been really a positive foreshadowing here. So when you have to rely on the defense, they can get their part done as well. The offense has been ticking along, especially in the first quarter. I expect this game to be off to a fast start, one way or the other. Now, the outcome will be different. We're going to give you our predictions coming up in a little bit, but it's got to start fast for me.
No, it absolutely has to start fast, and the Chiefs need to start fast. And if the Eagles don't start fast, that's going to be a problem for them because I guarantee you Kansas City is going to start fast. Andy Reid is going to have a first 15 plays that he feels extremely comfortable with, and I expect Mahomes is going to come out and he's going to execute. I said this on our crossover show, and I'll say it again. Patrick Mahomes was outplayed by Jalen Hurts the last time they played in the Super Bowl. I don't think that anybody can really argue that. Jalen Hurts played a game that was almost flawless, except for the fumble. Yeah, except for the fumble. If he doesn't fumble that ball, maybe they end up winning the game. Who knows? But it's Patrick Mahomes, so I'm never going to say that they would have actually won. But because he does whatever it takes to get the win. The reality, though, is they're going up against the number one scoring defense in the NFL. You know what Patrick Mahomes' record is against the number one defense in the NFL in his career?
I bet you're going to tell me.
8-2. He's 8-2 versus the number one scoring defense in the NFL. And let's not forget that when the Philadelphia Eagles played the Chiefs the last time, they beat them, and Fangio wasn't their coach at the time, but he came back and tried to help them, and it didn't work out. Do you know what Fangio's record against Andy Reid in the last 8 games is?
His has an 8 in the loss column. That's the only one I know because I think there's nothing else, right?
No, he's 0-8 against Andy Reid in the last 8 games. Andy Reid has figured out Fangio to an extent. Now, is this defense different than anything Fangio's ever had? Yeah. Are they going to do things differently than Fangio's probably done all season? I don't know. Fangio seems to be a coach that really sticks to what he normally does and expects the offense to make adjustments and to force the offense to try to beat him at his game. If he does that, good luck, because I am sure Andy Reid has a plan for how he's going to attack Fangio's defense.
Yeah, I certainly agree. How you get to that point, especially if they're not making adjustments, is a whole lot easier than maybe the opposition has. So what are those matchups you have to win? That's coming up next. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. What are some of the green flags in a relationship? We often hear about the red flags that you should avoid, but what if we focused on identifying the positive signs in relationships, those green flags? If you're not sure what they look like, therapy can help you identify them, actively practice them, and even embody the green flag energy yourself. Whether you're dating, married, building a relationship, or just working on yourself, therapy can help you form relationships that love you back. Therapy is you developing your healthy boundaries and improving your communication skills. It empowers you to set clear expectations and express those needs to other people in your relationships. Therapy provides tools for managing conflict and making sure that your communication strengthens and connections are strengthened rather than breaking them down. BetterHelp makes it easier for you to enjoy online therapy. And with over 30,000 licensed therapists to choose from, if you need to switch therapists, you can do that at no extra cost. Discover your relationship green flags with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today, and you get 10% off of your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. You can get more KC Chiefs Corner, where Chris is doing all of his work, over at my place at NFL33.com and on RGR Football, where you can get all the film and everything else. You look excited.
I am excited. I've got a mini in and out for you that is going to lead us into matchups.
Okay.
Because I do think that this is a key going into this game, and we don't know the answer because the Chiefs aren't going to tell us. In or out, Joe Thuney plays left guard in this game.
Out. I would prefer it, but Andy never does what I prefer. Andy is a creature of habit. He's a creature of reward and loyalty, and Joe has done nothing to unearn the loyalty that he has produced playing left tackle. They're going to start him. They're going to start Caliendo. I don't have any doubt in that. The question is, how long are they going to be able to stay with it?
I disagree. I'm in. I think he plays left guard because I think you look at this, and this is why I bring it up in the matchups. I think you look at this, and if you don't play Jalen Carter, who I know isn't generally going to play that side of the ball, he's generally going to be playing against Trey Smith. I understand that. But if you don't have Joe Thuney next to Humphrey, you are setting yourself up to be taken apart by the Philadelphia Eagles and their interior pass rush. And to me, they don't have somebody that's scary on the outside like you've seen in Buffalo and you've seen in the Texans the past couple of weeks. Thuney got beat because he doesn't have the arm length and he doesn't have the quickness and the I don't know if I want to call it power, but power is a little bit of it. It's a different position playing left tackle. It's not the same. I mean, your set's different. Everything's different. I think that they need to go with Humphreys. I think that they're going to start Humphreys in this game because the reality is that you played everything this season for this. You want your players in the best positions they can possibly be in, and it is a huge upgrade to have Joe Thuney at left guard over Caliendo. And that's not a shot at Mike. It's more of Thuney is an all-pro. He is one of the best left guards that's ever played. It's not fair to compare him. And then Humphreys, I think, is at least passable at left tackle with a pass rush that isn't going to be as formidable from the outside.
I think either way, that matchup is going to be key. Injury-wise, the Chiefs are very, very healthy, and that's great for them.
Yep.
Eagles, not so much. Brandon Graham is still on IR. I don't see him coming back for this. He's still limited in practice as well. Devonta Smith, still limited as far as I understand. Haven't gotten today's practice report because they're a little bit slow on that. Actually, they just did upgrade it. So Devonta Smith, still limited. Graham, still limited. Looks like Uzama was able to practice, and Cam Jurgens has been able to practice all week, as has Landon Dickerson. The quality of that practice, I cannot tell you about, and whether they're going to be able to be full strength when they get into this ball game. As much as the left tackle matchup is important on the Chiefs side, the interior matchup is just as important on the opposite side.
No, absolutely. And Nick Gates actually is one of their backup guards and backup centers, and he actually is limited with a groin injury. Was not on their injury report, so I think that could possibly mean that he may not be able to go in this game if he got injured during practice with a groin injury. Devonta Smith, I kind of asked. I asked our buddy Louis yesterday about that, and he said he's not worried about it at all. So we'll see. He's been playing through it, and if that's the case, he plays through it. Great, but he's not going to be as explosive as he has been. I mean, that's just the reality is if you have a hamstring injury, you're going to be slowed down a little bit, especially a player of that skill set. That could be huge for Kansas City if he's not 100% or close to 100%.
Agreed, especially when they try to go to a 3 wide receiver set and they put him inside on slot. Because I think that's the question here. Trent McDuffie has been as good outside as he has been inside in the past. He has to be outside in this game. Jalen Watson will play in this game. That matchup against A.J. Brown and whoever's on the outside on that side, I don't know that they'll travel Trent McDuffie. So it could be either of them. I think that you have to feel, especially if you're not in tight press coverage, because A.J. destroys press coverage pretty dang well. But if they're playing their brand of slightly off, not really jamming somebody where they can get out of position because of A.J.'s strength, I feel like you have to feel like you can do a decent job on that matchup. The question becomes, how do you guard Smith inside? Even if he's slightly injured, he's still got an advantage in acceleration on Najee Johnson. He's got an acceleration, a change of direction on Shamari Connor by a long shot. CRW, a rookie who I think has played some good snaps. I don't know that throwing him into the slot specifically on Smith is a good idea either. So really for the chess match, Goddard's going to be Goddard, AJ's going to be AJ. Yeah, I think Smith is the X factor there.
So the question on that one is, do you pull a page from Bill Belichick's book and line Trent McDuffie up on Devontae Smith all game long and double AJ Brown?
I don't think Spags will.
I don't think he does either, but to me, I would consider it. Because to me, I think that you can double AJ Brown, and while he's going to get his to an extent, it would limit his ability to beat you all the time. He's still a fantastic wide receiver, so he's going to get something. But the bigger question, and this goes back to kind of what you talked about earlier, but it really goes back to a little bit of a different matchup too. Can the Chiefs generate pressure with their outside pass rush? And I'm not talking Chris Jones. I'm talking, I think Chris Jones is going to play outside a little bit, but that's not the matchup that you'd want him to have. You would want him to be on the inside going up against Cam Jurgens and Dickerson because they have good tackles. So you would want them to be on the inside. But can they win on the outside too? Can Karlaftis and Dana and Aminihu cause issues with Jalen Hurts? If they can cause issues there on the outside and flush them up to Chris Jones or flush them up to Tershawn Wharton, Jalen Hurts isn't good when he's been pressured this season. He is one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL when he is pressured this season. They have a good offensive line, so it doesn't happen often. But what have we seen from the Chiefs the past couple of weeks? It's pressure, and more pressure. Can they get it, and can they do it without blitzing?
Mm-hmm. I think the key, as it always is Chris Jones, and the fact that they've been able to move him around so much lately, I think is going to be even more telling because of the injury situation in particular. And honestly, Lane Johnson is one of the best tackles in this league, but I do feel that Chris has a hand quickness advantage there. I do feel he can get underneath him with a good rip. So I don't think there's any reason to not move Chris Jones around the entire defensive front and find that weak spot. And come mid-third quarter, fourth quarter, you know how to exploit it and let him loose.
Fair enough. And it wouldn't surprise me to watch them do that. I'm just going to be curious to see how they go and try to attack because Spags is going to be attacking. That is what has worked for the Chiefs the past couple of weeks is he released the dogs against Houston, and then he started to release the dogs again against the Bills. He has found something that's working for this defense. He's found something that's working with the young guys, and that is what he's going to lean on. Now, the question is can Hurts take advantage of the openings? Because there's going to be openings. Mm-hmm. And if he does take advantage, that's going to be a problem. But if he can find a way to get home and to surprise Hurts, you're in for a good game.
I completely agree with you. And he's been particularly ineffective against zone blitzing, which Spags can drop in there at the drop of a dime. So, in fact, dime is probably one of the X factors we have to talk about because it will be used pretty extensively. And it's going to be important on both sides of the ball. The X factors and predictions are next.
Super Bowl 59 is here, and your Chiefs are in it. One game, two teams, endless possibilities. And there's no better place to make every play more exciting than FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to get into the action. With live betting all game long, you can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff till the final whistle. Live betting feature lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field. The app is super easy to navigate. Plus, knowing that you can place a $5 bet and potentially win $200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl, that's icing on the cake. Download the app right now and head over to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets back on your account. That's FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 59. The big game is almost here, and there's no better way to get even more exciting than with PrizePicks, the best place to do daily fantasy sports. With over 10 million members and billions of winnings awarded, PrizePicks makes it fun and simple to get into the action. All you have to do is pick more or less than the players' projections, at least 2 players. You do that, and if you do it right, you can get up to 1,000 times your cash right now. PrizePicks has a free pick going for Patrick Mahomes. Right now, he just has to throw 1 yard in this Super Bowl. Pair that with 1 more correct pick, and you're cashing out. If you want to do fast, safe withdrawals, it's easy. When I win, I can take my cash out, get it to my account in 15 minutes. Plus, the promos, they give you everything you need to get that super sweet Millie Winners game lineups. Those are on tap right now, and you can tail up to a lineup of 3 for 3, and you can split $1 million in promo funds. Download the app right now today and get that code Locked On NFL in there. You'll get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's Locked On NFL is the code to get $50 instantly after you play a $5 lineup at PrizePicks. Run your game.
Lots and lots to go over, and do not miss our post-game show. We will have you covered. Win, lose, or draw. Oh, wait, there'll be no draw, so we'll have you covered win or lose. Make sure that you're here with us, and we're going to have a good time. I hope you're ready for this ball game. You can get more ready at KC Chiefs Corner, NFL 33, and RGR Football.
So 2 years ago when they played, they finished in regular. Last year, Chiefs had to have overtime, and pretty much the entire overtime to win. Does this one go to 2?
No. I don't think this goes to 1.
Fair enough.
More of that coming in the predictions here in a second. X factors are on the highlight. And my first one I want to highlight because he's had a great season. But the duality of this team, these two teams, I think is really, really, really interesting. Because maybe the most lauded player right now in the secondary for the Eagles is a rookie, as is Xavier Worthy. Xavier has had to progress faster than we wanted. Cooper DeJean has played a very, very good season, mostly as a slot corner. I will still take that matchup, especially given everything else that's going to be on the field. If they switch off, more power to him. I think X has gotten to the point where he can be the guy that takes advantage of Hollywood being on one side and Nuke being on the other and Travis being next to him somewhere inside. That all goes to say that DeJean has some upside, and you got to watch out for him. He can also be had, and I think in particular, those plays where something breaks down and you have to make something out of nothing that Patrick is so good at, he and Xavier Worthy have to be on the same page. If that happens, they will be the X factor. If it doesn't, it might be Cooper DeJean.
I'm liking the fact that Xavier Worthy is going to play a big part in this game. And part of the reason I like it so much is because he's a rookie and he's going to be here another 4 years. And he has shown that he has the ability. He's got, I think, 60 yards a game since week 8, somewhere around there. He has been productive all season. You made a fantastic point, and we've talked about this already. He didn't plan. This was not the plan for him, but he got forced into it, and it has benefited him, and it has benefited this team. And now he's to the point where you see him doing different things in the offense, and that is so huge for what they're able to do with him and really what it could mean for everybody else. You talk about Xavier being an X factor. I think another X factor in this, I really do think that DeAndre Hopkins is going to be an X factor. And I don't mean it in the sense of he's going to go off and he's going to have a huge game of, 150 yards or over 100 yards and 3 touchdowns or anything like that. But I do think Patrick has shown, and he showed early when DeAndre got here, he trusts him, and he trusts him just about as much as he trusts Travis Kelce. And when you get into these types of games where everybody's amped up and everything's going to the windows are going to get a little bit tighter, it matters most when you have those types of guys. And that is exactly what DeAndre Hopkins has been his entire career, is somebody you can trust to catch the ball. He's going to bring it down. If it gets thrown to him and he gets his hands on it, 99.9% of the time he's going to bring it down, and you don't have to worry about it otherwise. I think he plays a huge role in this game, and I do think that they've been kind of saving him and not using some of the things that he can do because he hasn't really played much over the last 3 weeks. I don't think that's a matter of him not being able to. I think it's a matter of they had a plan for him.
Yeah, I hope that that's the case because I would like to see him play significantly more. On the other side of the ball, the guy that I think is clearly not the headliner here. Obviously, you have Chris Jones and you have Nick Bolton. You have a lot of guys here. I think the guy that might be the chess piece that comes up with not only some big stops, but also can do some of the dirty work against what is really a 3-pronged passing attack with Goddard. It's Jaden Hicks. Got to see him come to fruition. He came along a lot slower than Xavier Worthy because he wasn't forced into the lineup, but he has made some significant plays in the postseason. He's a guy that I think they can go to in dime, knowing that Shamari Connery might be the nickel corner. Throwing dime out there is something that will confuse Jalen Hurts. Having Hicks, a guy that can come into the box or can play in space, can do a little bit of everything, is an advantage here. the fact, as we've talked about all season, the fact that the Chiefs don't really have a true free safety center fielder and all they have is box safeties is an advantage in this game when they go to that dime to try to either stop Saquon Barkley or control what Jalen Hurts can do with his legs. Either way, Jaden Hicks should be an X factor.
It's funny. We look at this and we look at how this Chiefs team got here. And you go back 4 years, they have the draft where they trade for Orlando Brown. They get Creed Humphrey, who is a all-pro center and a corner piece of their future. And they've paid him as such. And who else did they get in that draft? Nick Bolton. You want to talk about an X factor in this game, and I'm going to go with two. I'm going to say both Bolton and Drew Tranquill because I think both of them are going to play key roles in stopping Saquon Barkley and the Eagles running game. Bolton is playing for a new contract. This is his final game as a Chief as it stands right now. Not saying it can't change and he may not be back in Kansas City next year, but as of right now, he's going to be a free agent after this game. You want to talk about all the motivation in the world that you need? That's it. He has the chance to get the biggest paycheck he can possibly get by having a good game and by doing everything that he's been doing for this Chiefs team since he got here. I want to be clear. He has been fantastic against the run. He struggled a bit against the pass, but he's gotten better as the years have gone on. He's become a better all-around linebacker, and it's key. And one of the things that was mentioned, and I think it was the linebacker coach, I think Daly mentioned this, that Nick Bolton, one of the things that makes him so great is he has a photographic memory. And that is one of the ways he's able to be successful because while he isn't fast, his instincts kick in quicker than anybody else's. And that's why he's able to be so successful. If he has a big game in this one, or he has to have a big game for this Chiefs team to get a win against the Eagles on Sunday.
I think you're probably right, especially when Saquon Barkley has to be the focus on defense. Yeah, everything flows off of that. And we've talked about that in the crossover and earlier this week. And folks, if you haven't seen those, go back and check those out. So all that rolled up together, how do you see this game going? What do you predict?
I said this earlier in segment one. Mahomes' record is 8-2 versus the number one scoring defense. Up until a couple of years ago, I think he was scoring 31 points a game against said number one scoring defenses. So that generally hasn't been something that slowed him down. And the thing that we have seen time and time again from Mahomes is that he finds a way to get it done, and he finds a way to raise his game to another level each time that the stakes go up just a little bit more. Regular season, he will still get it done, but it may not be pretty. But you get in the playoffs, he will raise his game to a whole new level, and he has done it time and time and time again. And the thing that the Chiefs have going for them more than any other team in the NFL, and this is an obvious one, but it's Patrick Mahomes and his experience. And now he is to a point where you don't have to worry about him coming out and being tight and being, a guy that has to worry about, okay, I'm not going to make the right decision on the first throw, or, I can't make that throw or whatever. He has been there enough times. He's going to come in. He's going to be loose. He's going to know exactly what he has to do. He's going to be prepared. But go back a couple years and watch him in one of the first Super Bowls and one of his first playoff games. He was tight. He was not his normal self. When he finally settled down, it became different. And that's how he gets to a point where he's 17-3 in the playoffs. It isn't one of those things that you can do very easily, but he has all the experience in the world. Jalen Hurts doesn't. I think that is going to play a factor in this. And when you look at who has the better quarterback, it's not even close. Mahomes is better than Hurts, and it's just not particularly close in that regard. The rest of the Eagles team could be better than some of the Chiefs or most of the Chiefs team. But I don't think that that's going to matter in this game because the reality is Mahomes is that much better, and Andy Reid, I think, is that much better than Nick Sirianni. So to me, I think this comes down to probably a one-score game in the end. I do think Kansas City wins. The over-under, I think, is like 47 points, which seems awfully low for a Super Bowl considering the last time these two teams played, it was like, 38-35?
Mm-hmm.
So, 73 points at that point. I can't see this being an under 50-point game. I do think that the Chiefs score. I would be shocked if they get over 32 because they've only done it. They only got to 32 once this year. I would say it's going to be 28-24 Kansas City.
Okay. I know a few things for certain. Chris Jones is going to cry at some point. I know that's coming.
Multiple times.
Yeah, right. I know that they are going to make a mistake that they feel they have to overcome, and most teams could not. And I know this is not going to be a 10-point game. There are two ways that this goes. Either the Chiefs blow them out 14 plus, or it is a less than 5-point margin when it's all said and done and that confetti's falling one way or the other. I think in the end. What?
Do you think we see this?
Maybe. We'll see. I certainly hope so, because little comment that he had today, what do you think about it? It's still the Super Bowl loss. And I think that fuels him. I think it fuels the whole offense. I think everybody feeds off of that. And it does come back to Patrick Mahomes as much as the rest of the NFL wants to think that it does. He has the ability right here and the chance to become the greatest quarterback that ever lived without an argument anymore. I mean, we've been arguing for him for the last year or two, but there's no question at that point. Travis Kelce has the ability to solidify himself as the greatest tight end to ever play in this game with 3 straight. Chris Jones can make a Hall of Fame statement with this game. Those 3 guys alone, the trifecta that really motivates this team, are all in, have been, will be, no matter what. And I think the rest of everything flows from that. I think the whole team is bought in. I think even down to the backups and the practice squad players, everybody seems locked in on just the fact that this can be something that's never been done before. Players around the league that used to be Chiefs and are no longer not are still rooting for them just for that fact alone. And I think the historical aspect of this cannot be overlooked. In the end, I think it's a tough fight. I do think that the Eagles understand what they're up against, and I think they're prepared. I think leaning on Saquon Barkley is their plan. It has to be. I can't think of another one that could actually work. So it's about the Chiefs' defense bowing up to be as good as the Chiefs' offense will be, because I think in this game, the Chiefs' offense does produce a season-high point total. In the end, the Chiefs win. I have a 34-31 for the three-peat and an unprecedented place in history.
The key person that we haven't talked about this entire show that I think could be a huge key and is going to be more motivated than I think anybody else outside of Patrick Mahomes or Travis Kelce or Chris Jones, Kareem Hunt. This game means everything to Kareem Hunt.
This is redemption.
He's missed so much because of his actions in the past. This game means everything to him. And I guarantee you the guys in that locker room want it for themselves, but they also want it for Kareem Hunt.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, D-Hop, Hollywood is the new guys on the block. D-Hop, obviously, having said multiple times this season, I'm just here to play meaningful football. That hasn't happened in his career. He's as motivated as anyone as well. We'd love to know who you think can be the X Factor, what your prediction is. Put it in the YouTube comments. Hit us on social at Locked On Chiefs on X, or Chris Clark NFL on X, or me, whatever you like. We want to know. It's coming down to the edge where we are on the precipice of the greatest team in history. If they can get this done, do you think they will? That's what we want to know. We want to say thank you to all of our sponsors for the entire year, for all of our fans for the entire year. Every one of you that is subscribed to this channel and our podcast, we couldn't do it without you. We've been doing this 8 long seasons, and we've had the ability to go to 5 Super Bowls at this point, and we couldn't be blessed more, and we appreciate you guys being here for the ride. Thanks to the Locked On Podcast Network for putting up with us since the inception of this show and the network. We can't be prouder to be part of it and be here for what could be the most historic ball game in the history of the NFL. So
here's to a Chiefs three-peat.
Let's get it done. We hope that they do. Have a great weekend in preparation. Get your hoagies ready and your snacks all tuned up. We will be live with you post-game. Do not miss it. Have a great one and enjoy the Super Bowl.